Everywhere in the world there are some hotspot issues and even some intense situations like in the Near East, Ukraine, and also recently we have seen some emerging issues. For example, from Washington we have faced some threats, for example, using force to solve the issue of North Korea. As to the issue of Afghanistan, that is also a lingering threat. U.S. also would love to use force to solve that lingering issue. And there is saying that there may be a possibility of exiting the Iran nuclear treaty, and regrettably our U.S. peers and the allies are trying to deliver an ultimatum regardless of all the other concerns. In effect, they are just not ready to accept such a multipolar world. All of those attempts are doubtful and unfair, including the arrangement of the global anti-missile system and the unilateral sanctions, as well as the transnational usage and wielding of their own laws and regulations, and the threats of using their own manners to solve any international issue. We are also seeing that under certain circumstances they are stepping up their military power. And against that backdrop, on our part, we have done our best. Firstly, we need to defend Russia's own national interests. For example, protecting our citizens and our enterprises' interests so that they will not be hurt by those discriminations. And we will do our best to safeguard international law, including the United Nations Charter. We will work together with the other constructive players to defend our universal values. For example, mutual respect, equality, and cooperation, and we are also committed to avoiding the deterioration of the current international landscape. Today, such an international landscape has been sabotaged in some way, and we are gonna do our utmost to avoid any chaos and conflicts. As to the direction of our foreign affairs work, I'm gonna be more than happy to listen to your comments. Over the past year, we've done a lot, but we are gonna continue this effort in the mindset we have always been holding. And for example, we will keep our anti-terrorism efforts, and in Syria we have already gone somewhere, and now it's about time to engage with our Iran and Turkey friends to launch new talks, as well as usher in some new measures to settle the issue of Syria. We also need to implement the UN resolutions and also make headways in the field of North Korea.
Israel and the Middle East. All the Middle East issues are aggravated by the fact that the Palestinian issue is still pending. We will keep working on the Ukrainian problem because there is no other alternative but a full and consistent implementation of the Minsk set of measures that was enacted in Minsk in February 2015. And definitely on our agenda we have a major political development, which is the presidential election in this country now. Consular generals' missions, diplomatic missions and Russian centers of science and culture have been doing their best so that all the Russian nationals that are now abroad and are willing to vote are able to do so conveniently. And I'll stop at this and I'll be able for the interactive Q&A exchange. Anna Polchina, Russian television.
Well, that's Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov giving his message at the New Year's press briefing. He generally outlined Russia's foreign policy in 2018 and the efforts in Syria and the Palestinian conflict, and also anti-terrorism efforts. To talk about Russia's foreign policy in 2018, joining me here in the studio is Senior Captain Zhang Junshe, Vice President of the Naval Research Institute of China. Good afternoon, Mr. Zhang. So Lavrov basically outlined what Russia's been doing in terms of foreign policy. What do you make of Russia's efforts in 2017? It seems Russia's pretty active player in international affairs.
Yes, from his speech we can see that Russia will play an active part in international affairs. First, it says it will take all measures necessary to protect the Russians, its own people. Second, it said it will cooperate with constructive partners in the world to maintain world peace and stability. And he stressed maybe three key areas. First is in Europe. He says that about the Ukraine issue, Russia is committed to dealing with the issue. Maybe we know that this is an issue between now European countries, including and also the United States and Russia. The second is the Middle East. Russia will continue to focus its attention on Syrian issues and also the Palestinian and Iran and other issues. And especially, he said Russia will cooperate with Turkey and also Iran in dealing with the Middle East issues. But we know that actually the United States now is somewhat not very happy with Iran, so also Turkey. So I think a struggle between U.S. and also Russia will begin.
Let's talk about Syria a little bit. Russia, Syria, and Iran, and they have tried to broker peace deals in Syria for several rounds.
Yes.
Do you think the three parties are have enough leverage to have all the relevant parties in Syria to really reach an agreement in 2018?
Probably. We know that we have seen that actually Russia has made great progress in fighting terrorism in Syria, and also in supporting the Assad regime in the last 2 years, and it has stopped the efforts made by the United States and also European countries to overthrow Assad's regime.
And you think the Western countries, including the U.S., will accept the scenario that they will come a deal plan brokered by Russia, Iran, and Turkey in Syria?
Well, I think there will be a fierce political struggle between Russia and the United States over the future of the Assad regime and also over the situation in Syria. Iran, Russia, and Syrian government maybe want to reach a deal to restore peace and order in Syria. But we see some rebel forces in Syria are now supported actively by the United States and Western countries.
Let's talk about East Asia. Of course, DPRK issue is still hanging above the heads of everybody. And Russia says it wants to play a bigger role, as China has been saying all the time. Can China and Russia cooperate in this, and what kind of leverage do they have jointly?
Yes, I think in 2018, just as we have done in 2017, I think these two countries, Russia and China, will cooperate and coordinate very closely to maintain peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. We see that China first put forward the double suspension suggestion, and then Russia supported China's suggestion. And I think in future, both countries will work hard to persuade the main parties, the United States, South Korea, and North Korea, into having talks, sitting down, and not making provocative actions against each other.
And a good sign is that the North and the South are now talking, and for the sake of the Olympics at least.
Yes, this is a very good sign and very important step toward solving the North Korean or the Korean Peninsula issue. Especially, I think both the United States and other countries should support the joint efforts by the North and the South on the Korean Peninsula. And also, we have seen that actually Mr. Trump says he supports the high-level conference between the two sides.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang.
Thank you.
You've been watching The World Today here on CGTN. We'll be right back after a short minute.
You've traveled to places where others couldn't be, seen things others couldn't imagine, and heard stories you can't be sure whether to believe. They say that you're privileged, that people look up to you. But only you know how much effort you've made. You're on the ultimate journey to discover a country with 5,000 years of history and nearly 1.5 billion people. Is it a green countryside or a vast sea of neon lights and skyscrapers? Is it a dangerous land choked with smog or the blue sky of a summer's day? What is this China for you? And what is this China for the rest of the world? CGTN. See the difference.
In Iraq, a double suicide attack has killed 27 people and wounded 90 in the capital, Baghdad. Police and army officials said 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up in the Al Tahran square in central Baghdad. The toll could rise as more bodies are being recovered. But this is the second attack in the Iraqi capital in 3 days. The flames on the Iranian oil tanker Senchi have gone out after more than a week of burning, with cleaning operations still underway. While the oil